If you ride in the bus from Yongho-dong, you will need to catch Yongho-dong Village Bus number 2 to this stop. You need to be careful because actually almost nobody ever gets out at this stop. So you will need to make it very clear to the driver that you want to come here. This is where the bus would be coming from. This road leads directly into Yongho-dong, or the Dragon Lake ward of Namgu. Namgu is the South District of Busan. The road down the hill goes to Oryukdo SK View, where I live. You can see the skyscrapers in the distance. This road is the Igidae Beltway. It leads directly into the Igidae Park, which we explored thoroughly in episode number 1. However, I will be taking this path up to Jangjasan, or Mount Firstborn. Here's the entrance to Igidae Waterfront Park. Translation of Korean mountain and river names tends to be a little bit strange. You'll notice that the name of every Korean mountain ends with san, which is because san means mountain. And so Jangjasan would be Mount Jangja. However, Koreans will usually say something like Jangjasan Mountain. This is just a defect in English education. The meaning is certainly quite clear, but the normal English would make it Mount Jangja. And of course, Jangja means eldest child. The Chinese characters for Jangja literally mean eldest child. I choose to translate it as firstborn because it has the archaic meaning of being the eldest son. We're heading toward the large rest area according to this, and this wants to take us to the Oryukdo three-way intersection, which is right down there. Down there is the Igidae Beltway. We will be following a path parallel to the Beltway for this entire trip. This is a side road off of the Igidae Beltway. This goes directly to the Igidae Beltway. However, we're going to continue along the woods trail by going this way. Jayan Boho, natural preserve, preserve nature, defend nature, protect nature, natural preservation. Over here there's some shrubbery that is cut into the shape of the syllables Jayan. Ja Yun. There's an inscription around the base of the stone, but there is no way to get anywhere near it because it is completely surrounded by shrubbery. This grassy area actually used to be a parking lot But apparently the city of Busan decided that parking here was too convenient and made the park much too easy to use. And so they removed the parking lot and planted a grassy area. So now what happens when this fills up is people park along the side of the road, making things far more dangerous than they used to be when there was a parking area here. That's one of those genius moves of administration. We have another inscription with no way to get close to it. It's all in Korean though. Jayan Boho. This area has vending, cold beverages and hot coffee. Here's some informational signs. If you're not fluent in Korean, then guess what? These are not for you. Here's a map of the entire Igidae area. These buildings are Oryukdo SK View, where I live. Here we have Oryukdo, Sunrise Park. The bright orange line is the Igidae Coastal Walk, which you can see in episode 1 of Busan Geographic. The blue line is the Beltway, which is what we're next to. It says that we're right here. There's some information on the insects here, a little entomological information. When you're hiking in Korea, it's good to take pictures of these signs. In case you're injured or something happens, it's easy for you to convey information about where you are. We're just going to go a few steps down this pathway. This is not actually where we're going, but I want to show you a couple of things. Here's our recycling station. Separate your garbage. And over here is an air compressor station for blowing the dust and bugs off your feet. Here are some lovely informational signs in Korean. A map of the area. Some information about the flowers that you'll find around here. And some other forestry information. There's a pavilion here with lots of benches for resting. This is the pathway we'll be going up, which leads to the summit of Mount Firstborn. Many public parks have these stone paths set up in the rest areas. Maybe they're therapeutic for the soles of the feet. I'm not entirely sure what their purpose is, but I've seen quite a few of them. This is a lovely gazebo. If you go up here, it is strictly shoes off. I find this one interesting because it has a special feature. These are traditional gaming tables set up for 2 strategy games. One is called Baduk, which maybe you know under the Japanese version known as Go. The other one is a kind of chess called Jangi, which is very similar to the Chinese chess game Zhangqi. There's a cute little stage here for public performances. This sure would be a good time. We're now heading for the summit. This fork doesn't matter. You can take either one at this point. We'll take the left one. This is a grave. Somebody takes care of this. This sign is telling us that the summit of Mount Firstborn is 390 meters ahead. This is telling us that the large rest area is 170 meters behind. Jangun Myoyak Suta. Ooh. Here's something I don't know. We have a trail going down. Well, I'm not going to explore that today. I do know that when you go downhill at the large rest area, it leads down a beautiful path which actually goes to a beautiful cemetery. So that's going to be a cause for exploration in a different video. Here's a map so you can track your progress. We're here. We're going up here. 390 meters uphill. But we can take a little break over here. If this clock is accurate, I left home about 90 minutes ago. This one, by the way, is pointing to what's called Jangjasan Yaksuta. That's a mineral water area, mineral water spring. That's 500 meters away. That's one of those drink at your own risk areas. There'll probably be information saying, hey, the bacteria count's really high. I drink from it anyway. Here we're coming up on a very interesting cement and gravel road. There is a large drainage furrow dug here. There's an excellent drainage grate at the base. Deep furrows were cut into the cement as it was drying. This creates traction so that Jeeps and other military transports can easily climb this steep grade. Up ahead, the angle lessens, so the cement is gone and we're just on gravel. This fork matters. The left fork goes directly up to the summit. The right fork is for crossing the mountain quickly. Although there is access to the summit from that path, we will be taking the left fork. Up here at the top of this sign is something I was looking for. This is definitely location information. If you have a picture of this sign and you are in trouble, you're injured, or for some reason you can't move forward, the authorities can use this information to quickly locate you. The large rest area is 340 meters behind us. This says Gongwon Gwanli Samuso. I think that's the main office for Igidae Park. Here's a map. We are here and we're going here. We're almost there. We just have to climb this steep incline. This sign says the summit is 120 meters. Here we go. This fork doesn't really matter. We can go left or right. I'm going to go right. Sechanyan Hemachi Ginyambi. I have no idea what that means. We're at the summit of Mount Firstborn. We have soldiers repainting the large Templar cross at the top, which I assume is a landing marker for helicopters. This little side path will lead down to the main road we bypassed. Up ahead is a large exercise yard. It's pretty busy right now. I'm showing you unused equipment from a large exercise yard. I will not be able to show you a sweeping picture of this because there are numerous senior citizens exercising in this yard at this time. Right now at the summit we have 2 soldiers repainting the landing area. There are 4 seniors walking the track and about 15 people, more than 15 people exercising in this yard. So I can show you some of the equipment, but I don't want to invade anyone's privacy with this camera. So I'm showing you bits and pieces of a free public gymnasium. This is one of the beauties of life in Korea. Certainly there are businesses for exercise, fitness clubs, gymnasiums, places with personal trainers. But the poor do not have to pay. They can just walk up the mountain and there is a free public gymnasium for their use. Of course there is. Keeping public health is a major priority in Korea, as it should be in every country. That's what happens when the government cares about its people. Now here we are out on the main road across the mountain. This way leads back to the way I came. And this way goes the rest of the way across Igidae. The rest of this trip is downhill. We're going to be heading to the Igidae main office. Here we have a little field station hut. We have a nice vista of Namgu, the South District of Busan. The closest section is Yongho-dong. Yong means dragon, Ho means lake. Dong is a division of a gu or district, so I like to call it a ward, although sometimes gu is translated as ward. So anyway, we're in a section called Dragon Lake. I'm not entirely sure what these stations are for, but the large blue containers are emergency water for putting out forest fires. Forest fire, translated into Korean, actually comes out as mountain fire, sanbul. The reason being that the trees are on the mountains. If the trees are on fire, the mountain is on fire. There's a footpath leading down for the truly adventurous. Do not take paths like this without walking sticks. Have at least one, but I recommend 2. If you do not have a walking stick to go down a trail like this, you are simply asking for trouble. We will continue along the main path. If it were not for the ambient urban noises, I would not know that I am actually inside a gigantic urban metropolis. Busan is home to approximately 3.5 million people, but most of the urban development is in skyscrapers and tall buildings between the mountains in the valley areas. The mountains are generally off limits and have been since ancient times, which makes them fantastic places for public recreation. And indeed, they are set aside for that. Korea is divided into 9 provinces and I think 7 or 8 metropolitan municipalities called Gwangyokshi. Busan is not in a province, it is its own governed area. It is Busan Gwangyakshi. Usually Gwangyakshi is translated badly as metropolitan city, which is simply double talk and doesn't work very well in English. Unfortunately, a proper translation becomes very awkward because it specifically means metropolitan municipality. So you might hear me talk about Busan Gwangyakshi as the Busan Metropolitan Municipality, but typically Koreans will call it Busan City or Busan Metropolitan City. Here we have a stack of leftover paving stones. They make a cute tower. We can only catch glimpses of Dragon Lake. I find the name to be ironic since there are no lakes. Of course, the name does actually refer to the Pacific Ocean, not to a lake. We have some lovely benches here. The pine trees look fairly young, so there was probably a time 20 years ago when one could stand or sit here and really get a fantastic view of Yongho-dong. This tiny side trail leads to the best view available from the top of Mount Firstborn. We are heading up to the Gazebo, and if we're lucky, nobody will be there. And we're in luck. The gazebo is empty. Let's take our shoes off and take a look. Shimbal ul patgo. Take your shoes off. That's right. No shoes in here. This gazebo has benches built into the sides all the way around. Usually the view from up here is not so foggy. You can see a peak on the lower left. That is actually still inside of Igidae. That tiny mountain is actually home to Beck Young, that is White Lotus Temple. If you're interested in Beck Young, you can see it near the end of episode 1, the Igidae tour. The bridge is the Gwangan Bridge, also known as the Diamond Bridge. Behind the bridge is a very low mountain, not the tall one, but between the tall mountain in the background and that mountain that's in Igidae, there's a very short mountain. That is called Baeksan, Mount White. That will definitely be the subject of a future episode. The tall mountain in the background is Mount Jangjasan in Korean. The giant skyscrapers here in the middle of the image are Marine City. Just a little bit to the right of Marine City is a tiny round island in the bay. That is Camellia Island in Korea, known as Dongbaeksum. And to the right of Dongbaeksum is Haeundae-gu. Right at the end of Haeundae-gu, we can just see right there by the water a place called Dalmaji, or Moonrise Road, which is another interesting location. Okay, here's another one of those locational signs for your safety. Every time you see one of these, just snap a picture of it. Have it on hand. Here we have a beautiful map of the Namgu trekking course. Some of this one is in English, or at least transliterated into English. Here we are. Now, one thing I want you to understand is this map is actually reversed from the last one we saw of the overview. In this one, Oryukdo is over on the right. So here's the Oryukdo Quay, the Oryukdo Skywalk, Oryukdo Sunrise Park, Oryukdo SK View where I live. The red course is the coastal trail, which you can see in episode 1 of Busan Geographic. Oryukdo is explored in episode 0. And we came up here next to the Beltway, not quite on the Beltway, but we have been walking parallel to the Beltway. Here was the large rest area. We walked up this trail. There's the peak. We're on the orange line, and we are right here. And we are going to be heading out here next to the Beltway. Although the orange trail ends at White Lotus Temple, and I see quite conveniently that they chose not to label it, but that spot right there is Beck Young. The park office is 800 meters away. The large rest area is 880 meters behind us. We have passed the point of no return, so we continue forward. I brought my hiking pole with me today. This is really essential equipment for going downhill, especially when I'm holding a gimbal in one hand to stabilize the camera. Down here we get our first halfway decent view of Yongho-dong. Here you can see that it looks like a lot of this rock was blasted in order to make room for the road. So there's been some terraforming that happened in order to make Korea what it is today. 560 meters to the mineral water spring. That's a slightly different side hike. It's really nice for a woodsy walk, but not worth taking a side trip, and probably will never make it into any episode. So you'd have to come here yourself to see that one. Just a nice walk down a nice trail to get there. Lots of benches here. It's a really nice, serene place in the woods to relax. Here we have another large public exercise yard. I don't want to take images from any closer because if there are too many people here. This park is full of exercise equipment like this piece. I'm not going to show you any more of it because almost every single item here is currently in use. 200 meters away is Dragonflower Temple, Yonghwa-sa. That's a very cute temple. But the main park office is down this way. Yonghwa-sa would make a very nice little side trip, and I may make it over there someday. They have a very lovely display of many interesting things. I lucked out to notice that this section of the park is mostly not in use. This is about 1/3 of the equipment available in this park, plus there's a gazebo. Most of the rest of the equipment is in use right now. There are some public restrooms here. Unfortunately, it looks like these are closed. Here, this fork is a little bit important. We'll be taking this dirt trail down to the main office. Continuing down this paved road leads into a parking lot. It used to be my favorite parking lot until they closed it off so that the public couldn't use it, which is really sad. The mountain peak is 840 meters away. The office is 280 meters, and it is pointing us down the dirt trail. We are very nearly at the end of the trail. Here we have another gorgeous map. And we have an air compressor station. We've arrived at the pay parking lot of the Igidae main office. Here's a lovely set of informational signs. This is the Igidae Beltway. There's an interesting looking side trail up here. I would like to come up here sometime and try this one out. But for today, I'll stick to the main path. I'll be heading out this way to catch a bus home.